There's a number sitting inside a lab in China that every major automaker on Earth is now quietly obsessing over, 93.8%. Not a battery capacity figure, not a charging speed. It is the efficiency of a working electric motor, meaning almost every unit of electrical energy going in comes back out as usable motion, with almost nothing lost as wasted heat. For an industry that has spent over a decade fighting for tiny fractions of a percentage point, a number like that is not an improvement. It is a shockwave. Here is why it matters beyond the spec sheet. Efficiency is the difference between an EV that goes 250 miles on a charge and one that goes 320 miles on the exact same battery. It is the difference between a motor that runs cool and reliable for a decade and one that slowly cooks itself from the inside out. Every fraction of a point an engineer squeezes out translates directly into range, cost, and lifespan. And China just squeezed out more than anyone thought was physically realistic this soon. In the next few minutes, we are breaking down exactly how this motor was built, why 93.8% is such a brutally hard number to hit, and why automakers in the United States, Germany, and Japan are reportedly scrambling to figure out how China got there first. If breakdowns like this are useful to you, hit the like button, since videos like this take serious research to put together. Subscribe if you want to stay ahead of the next shift in EV technology, because this will not be the last one. Stick around for the final section because it covers what this motor could mean for the price of your next electric car, and it is not a small difference. But first, we need to understand why 93.8% was considered nearly impossible in the first place. The efficiency ceiling nobody could break. Electric motors have always been sold as the clean, simple alternative to a gasoline engine, and in a lot of ways, that is true. A typical gasoline engine wastes more than half of its fuel energy as heat before a single wheel turns. Electric motors have always done dramatically better, typically landing somewhere between 85 and 91% efficiency in mass-produced vehicles. But here is the part most people do not realize. That final stretch from roughly 90% up toward the mid-90s is brutally difficult to close. Electric motors lose energy in a handful of very specific, very stubborn ways. Resistance in the copper windings that generates heat, magnetic losses in the motor's iron core, friction in the bearings, and switching losses in the electronics that control the motor. Engineers have spent decades chasing each of these losses down, and each additional fraction of a percentage point gets exponentially harder to capture than the one before it. For years, most of the auto industry treated anything above 92% efficiency as a theoretical ceiling. Achievable in a lab under perfect conditions, but not something you could reliably build into a car that has to survive potholes, heat waves, and a decade of daily commuting. China's new motor did not just approach that ceiling, it walked straight through it in a design that reportedly holds up under real-world automotive conditions, not just a sealed lab bench. That is the part that has automakers paying attention. Number 1, the motor design that changes the math. The core breakthrough behind this motor is not a single miracle material. It is a fundamental rethink of how the motor's internal geometry is built, centered on what engineers call an axial flux design. Most electric motors on the road today use a radial flux layout, where the magnetic field moves outward from a central shaft, like ripples spreading from the center of a pond. It is a proven, well-understood design, but it wastes a meaningful amount of space and copper in the process. An axial flux motor flips that geometry, arranging the magnetic components in flat disks stacked face to face, so the magnetic field flows straight across a short, direct path instead of radiating outward. That shorter, more direct magnetic path means less resistance, less wasted copper, and dramatically less weight for the same power output. Chinese engineers reportedly refined this axial flux approach with a new winding technique and an improved cooling channel built directly into the motor housing, pulling heat away from the copper windings faster than traditional designs allow. Less heat buildup means less wasted energy, and less wasted energy is exactly what turns into that 93.8% number. This single design shift is the foundation everything else on this list builds on top of. Number 2, killing the rare earth dependency. Here is where the story gets even more interesting because most high-performance electric motors have historically depended on powerful rare earth magnets, specifically magnets containing neodymium, a material that is expensive, environmentally messy to mine, and overwhelmingly processed through Chinese supply chains to begin with. You would expect a Chinese-built motor to lean even harder into that advantage. Instead, reports suggest engineers use this project to reduce dependency on the heaviest rare earth elements, refining the magnet formula to maintain strong magnetic performance while cutting back on the most expensive and supply-constrained materials. Why would China, of all countries, want to use fewer rare earths when it already controls most of that supply chain? Because efficiency and cost are not the same battle. A motor that uses fewer rare earth materials is cheaper to manufacture at scale, easier to source consistently, and less exposed to price swings in an already volatile market. Reducing rare earth dependency was not about giving up an advantage. It was about making an already efficient design even easier to mass produce. Number 3, the silicon carbide advantage efficiency in a motor is only as good as the electronics controlling it, and this is where a material called silicon carbide comes into the picture. Traditional electric vehicle inverters, the component that converts battery power into the exact electrical signal a motor needs, have historically relied on silicon-based switching components. Silicon works, but it loses a meaningful amount of energy as heat every time it switches on and off, which happens thousands of times per second while you drive. Silicon carbide components switch faster and waste dramatically less energy as heat compared to traditional silicon. Automakers have been slowly adopting silicon carbide inverters for several years now, but Chinese engineers reportedly paired an advanced silicon carbide inverter design directly with this new motor architecture, tuning the two systems to work together instead of treating the motor and the inverter as separate problems. That tight integration is a big part of where the final efficiency gain came from. Not one dramatic breakthrough, but two already improving technologies engineered to complement each other perfectly. Number 4, why this number terrifies range. Anxiety. Every efficiency gain in an electric motor turns into range. And this is where 93.8% stops being an engineering statistic and starts being something a regular car buyer actually feels. Range anxiety, the fear of running out of charge with nowhere to plug in, has consistently ranked as one of the top reasons people hesitate to buy an electric vehicle. A more efficient motor does not require a bigger, heavier, more expensive battery to deliver the same range. It squeezes more miles out of the exact same battery pack you already had. Industry estimates suggest that closing the efficiency gap from the low 90s up to the mid-90s could add a meaningful percentage of extra real-world range to a comparable electric vehicle without changing the battery at all. For a car that currently gets 300 miles on a charge, that is not a marginal improvement. It is the difference between comfortably finishing a long road trip and stopping to search for a charger halfway through. This is the kind of number that does not just improve a spec sheet. It chips away at the single biggest psychological barrier still standing between gasoline drivers and electric vehicles. Number 5, the manufacturing question that worries automakers. Most a breakthrough motor sitting in a research lab is one story. A breakthrough motor that can actually be mass-produced at automotive scale is a completely different one. And this is where China's manufacturing base becomes the real headline. China already builds the overwhelming majority of the world's electric motors and the components that go inside them, from magnet production to winding equipment to precision motor housings. That existing infrastructure means a new motor design does not need a brand new factory, built from scratch. It can be integrated into production lines that are, in large part, already standing and already staffed. That is precisely what worries automakers in the United States, Germany, and Japan the most. It is not just that China built a more efficient motor, it is that China is positioned to start mass producing that motor faster than almost anywhere else on Earth could realistically respond, simply because the manufacturing base needed to build it at scale already exists. Number 6, the price impact. Nobody was ready for every advantage on this list eventually funnels into the number that actually decides who wins in the auto industry, cost per vehicle. A more efficient motor design that uses fewer rare earth materials, pairs with an already scaling silicon carbide inverter, and slots into existing manufacturing infrastructure is not just a better motor. It is a cheaper one to build at volume. Lower material costs, simpler cooling systems, and manufacturing efficiency gains all compound together. And that combined effect is exactly what tends to show up a year or two later as a lower sticker price on the showroom floor. For automakers who have spent the last several years locked into motor designs optimized around older efficiency targets, that combination is a serious competitive threat. Retooling a motor production line takes real time and real capital, and every year spent deciding whether to make that shift is another year a more efficient, cheaper to build competitor has to gain ground. Where this motor could show up first. A breakthrough motor design does not appear in every car overnight. And the rollout pattern here is worth understanding because it tells you where to actually watch for this technology first. Premium and performance electric vehicles are the most likely early adopters because a manufacturer's first units of any new motor design tend to be expensive to produce before economies of scale kick in, and premium vehicles can absorb that early cost while still turning a profit. Expect the first production vehicles using this motor architecture to show up in higher-end Chinese EV models before the technology filters down into mainstream mass-market cars. Commercial and fleet vehicles are a second likely early target. Delivery vans, ride-hailing fleets, and taxi fleets rack up enormous daily mileage, which means even a small efficiency gain compounds into meaningful fuel, or in this case, electricity, savings over the life of the vehicle. A fleet operator running thousands of vehicles has a direct financial incentive to adopt a more efficient motor the moment it becomes available, even before the technology has fully matured for everyday consumer use. Two-wheelers and light electric vehicles could see this technology even sooner than passenger cars. China's electric scooter and motorcycle market is enormous, and a smaller, simpler motor is generally easier and cheaper to redesign around a new architecture than a full-sized automotive motor. Manufacturers looking to test a new motor design at real-world scale with lower financial risk per unit often start there before scaling up to passenger vehicles. Grid and industrial applications round out the early list. Motors are not just for vehicles. The same efficiency gains that help an EV go further on a charge also help industrial equipment, pumps, and manufacturing machinery use less electricity to do the same amount of work. A motor architecture proven efficient enough for a car is often efficient enough to be worth licensing into entirely different industries altogether. None of this means every electric vehicle on the road will suddenly hit 93.8% efficiency next year. Full passenger vehicle rollout typically takes several years of validation, supply chain scaling, and cost reduction before a new motor architecture becomes the industry default rather than the exception. But the earliest signals of where this technology lands first are usually the clearest hint of how fast it will eventually spread everywhere else. Why the rest of the world is playing catch-up. It is worth asking the obvious question here. If axial flux motors and silicon carbide inverters were not secret technologies, why is the rest of the auto industry reacting to this now instead of already matching it? Part of the answer is that Western and Japanese automakers spent the bulk of the last decade optimizing radial flux motor designs because that architecture was already proven, already understood, and already built into existing supply chains. Switching to a fundamentally different motor geometry is not a spreadsheet decision. It requires new tooling, new manufacturing partnerships, and years of validation testing before a design like that can be trusted inside a mass-produced vehicle people drive every day. There's also a simpler explanation. Axial flux motors have been discussed in engineering circles for years as a promising but difficult to manufacture alternative. One that looked great on paper, but had a reputation for being expensive and finicky to produce consistently at scale. It was easy to treat as a niche solution for premium, low-volume vehicles rather than something that could realistically anchor a mainstream car. China's engineers spent years quietly solving exactly that manufacturing problem, while much of the rest of the industry assumed it was not worth solving yet. Government-backed industrial strategy played a role here too, similar to the pattern seen across other Chinese manufacturing sectors. Motor and power electronics research received sustained long-term backing, rather than funding tied to short election or budget cycles. That kind of backing allowed engineering teams to work through years of iterative, unglamorous manufacturing problems, the kind of problems that rarely produce a headline on their own, but eventually compound into a result like 93.8%. That kind of patient investment timeline is difficult to replicate in markets where research funding tends to follow shorter political and fiscal cycles. Supply chain proximity mattered as well. Building a motor this tightly integrated between mechanical design and power electronics is far easier when the magnet suppliers, the silicon carbide manufacturers, and the motor assembly plants all sit within the same industrial ecosystem. That is a very different situation from coordinating supply chains spread across different countries, different time zones, and different trade borders. China's existing dominance in electric motor components turned out to be a significant head start for building something entirely new on top of it. What this actually changes. Step back, and the significance here goes well beyond one impressive lab result. A handful of shifts stand out. Range expectations shift first, because a meaningfully more efficient motor stretches every existing battery further without a single change to battery chemistry. Cost structures shift second, as reduced rare earth dependency and simpler cooling requirements compound into a cheaper motor to manufacture at scale. The competitive map shifts third, at a moment when automakers around the world had largely settled into their existing motor architectures, betting that incremental improvement would be enough to stay competitive. And the manufacturing advantage shifts hardest of all, because the country that builds most of the world's electric motor components is also the country that just proved it can push that technology further than anyone expected, with the factories already in place to produce it at volume. The bigger picture. Zoom out far enough, and the pattern looks familiar. It is the same pattern that played out with batteries, with solar panels, and with rare earth processing over the last 2 decades. A technology gets treated as mature and largely settled, China commits sustained investment to pushing it further anyway, and a few years later, China is not just competitive, China is setting the pace everyone else has to match. What sits behind that 93.8% number is not a single invention. It is the product of years of quiet, compounding engineering work across motor geometry, magnet chemistry, and power electronics, all pointed at the same target. Now that the technology is real and reportedly ready to scale, the rest of the global auto industry faces a familiar choice. Close the gap quickly, or watch another critical piece of the electric vehicle supply chain shift firmly into Chinese hands. Whether automakers elsewhere can catch up in time is still an open question. What is no longer in question is whether an electric motor this efficient can actually be built and mass-produced. China has already done it. If you found this breakdown useful, hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications so you do not miss the next one. There are related videos on the screen right now if you want to keep digging into this topic. Now we want to hear from you. Do you think the rest of the auto industry can catch up to this motor in time, or has China already locked in the next chapter of EV dominance? Drop your take in the comments below.